All right. Hello, 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 and welcome to Intercultural Spark, that show about the spark inside you that drives you to spark change in the world through values driven businesses and life projects. Each week, we talk to a different guest and usually business owner with the curiosity about how they do what they do, how they got there, and a little bit about how it works as a business model because there are small businesses that are doing amazing, interesting things and building lives all around the globe. And it's so fascinating. We can learn so much from other people in terms of how they make life and business work. So, I am your host. I am the founder of Intercultural Talk. We are a digital, intercultural, and real life marketing business. And basically, for today's guest, I don't have anything else to say about me. Um, you will see the fabulousness of me and the guests throughout the show. So, our guests today, Alice de Cunha and Marc Frost, they are the founders of the Physical Theater Company, which is going into the festival, the Physical Theater Festival. It's going into its 9th year now. So, Alice is an actress. She's worked on the, a Latino theater festival. She's worked in London and Portugal and all over the world. And Marc Frost, who is her spouse and partner in real life as well as in the theater festival. Marc also has founded a number of theater companies as it's worked around the globe. So, welcome to Intercultural Spark. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. So great to see you both.
I saw that you spoke with Marcelo. He's a good friend of mine. Jarmel.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So actually, hold that thought for 1 second because before we do anything else, I want to do our flash exercise. So the flash exercise, in addition to doing the show, I'm also a exercise instructor, aerobics instructor is what they called it in the old days. So I want to show you what our exercise of the week is. It is an interpretive exercise, which means it has a deeper meaning, and I picked it specifically for you and this show. So I'm going to make myself big for just 1 second and then to show you the exercise, and then I'm going to invite you to join in with me. And I hope everyone will try this at home as well. Okay. So this exercise is it's a cardio exercise. So you can do it from your chair, but I'm going to show you standing first. And what I'm going to try to do, you're not going to be able to see my feet, but well, maybe you can. Can you see my feet? Almost. All right. So it's a cardio exercise, cutting my head off for a second to get the full move of the body. You're going to take steps forward and back, and then side and side. So it goes forward, back, side, side. You can make it big with arms, side, side. All right. I'm bringing you back to do this with me. So we can do it if you want. You can do it. Yep, you got it. You can do it or from your chair or standing. So, oh, I love it. So actually, physical theater, make it forward and back and side and side. Forward. So if you add some arm movements, you get some good cardio going. You got it. Oh my God. And you guys look really great doing it too. All right. So, oh, I love it. I feel like I just want to get a beat going. All right. Actually, and that's how the show just became an exercise for the rest, because who wants to stop dancing once you start dancing? That's hilarious. All right. At the end of the show, we're going to circle back to that. And I'm going to ask you why I picked that amazing exercise for you. So just a reminder for everyone watching live, please feel free to ask questions, say hello in the comments. That's how we know you are here. All right, now going back to, so Elise said, Marcelo. Yes, Marcelo was on the show because Elise and I have alguma coisa em comum, porque eu também estou casada com brasileiro. So what that was actually, I said, I'm also married to a Brazilian. Elise actually is a Brazilian. Marc is the married one. But yes, yeah, my husband is from Brazil. So
nice. Where in Brazil?
He's from Sao Paulo, and it's coming up on clearly, I was like 4 when I got married because 'cause we're coming up on our 35th wedding anniversary.
Wow,
Holy smokes.
congratulations. That's great. That's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. So, actually, because people always ask us, me from Missouri, my husband from Sao Paulo, how we met. I wanna talk about all that you do together, but how did the 2 of you meet?
It coincides because we met in a physical theater school in
Ah,
London.
okay.
Yeah.
That's where we met. We
Yeah.
were
Oh,
studying physical
fantastic.
theater together.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. So, which actually, of course, goes into the next question, which is explain what physical, I feel like was it Denzel Washington made this famous in his movie Philadelphia. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain what physical theater is. Because physical, obviously, movement, but what is it exactly and how does it connect with theater then?
Yeah, physical theater, is basically when we do storytelling, right? Like we are familiar with most styles of theater, and the differences are that with physical theater, we're emphasizing the role of the body. So how can we tell a story with our full body, just like we did our exercise just
Mhm.
now? And of course there can be words, or sometimes it's silent, and at times it's also something that can also be very visual. So those are the three words that we usually associate with the festival: are physical, visual, and then the third one being contemporary. So it's work that is coming from the contemporary moment, or harkening back to maybe older styles and bringing them into this contemporary moment.
I think I've been thinking. I think about this question a lot and how to
Mhm.
explain this. And I think where I'm at right now is that um, most theater that we see is led by a text and words, right? So the words lead the story.
Got it. The writer. You're always looking at like who actually wrote the words that
Yeah,
the actors on stage are
and
actually
you see
turning into meaning.
an
Mhm,
Exactly.
August Wilson play, a Tennessee Williams play. Like the
mhm.
most powerful thing is the text, right? And the text,
Sure.
everything else is serving that text,
Mhm,
right? With physical theater, the primary thing is the body and space, and
mhm,
everything else, even the text, is serving that body and space. So it's a theater that you cannot close your eyes and still be accompany the story.
mhm.
As if you're watching a Tennessee Williams play, you can close your eyes for like
Oh, and really,
and
like,
you
sometimes
don't
where you
lose
just
the most
ponder the deep meaning of the words.
you
Sure.
don't lose the
Yeah.
most important thing that is in space, right? Which
Mhm.
is the words. In physical theater, it should be the opposite. You should be able to close your ears and still accompany the story,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but you can't close your eyes, you'll miss it, right? Because the
But you have to see
primary
it.
thing telling the story is the visual aspect, and it's the bodies in the space
Mhm.
are
And it
creating.
sounds like when you say the visual aspect, then is that the costumes and the scenery as well, or is it really the physical
Both,
movement of the
all.
body?
I think there's a huge preoccupation with image and body,
Mhm.
right? Like
Okay.
in physical
Mhm.
theater. I think that maybe the extreme example of this is a mime
Mhm.
that I mean that
Mhm.
he's
And
creating
what about, like, Cirque du Soleil? Would you call
also.
that
Yes.
physical theater?
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
And
I would
definitely.
definitely call
and
physical.
I
The
love
creators
be
of physical theater studied in the same school or the same type of school that Mark and I studied,
Mm.
right? Just that
okay.
they created a circus with that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
You know, it's
Mhm.
interesting. I'm just noticing a great comment here
Mhm.
about telling stories and communicating with your body. I remember
Mhm.
a fairly well known study was talking about communication, and was saying that when we communicate in everyday life, there's, I forget the exact numbers, but let's say
Mhm.
roughly the information that we're taking in is about 67%. I think it was two-thirds body language and physicality. Then the
Mhm.
next biggest item was like 20, 25, 20% of the tone of your voice. And then that only left about 5% or so for the actual content of the words you're
Oh,
saying to another
interesting.
person.
Sure.
So,
Sure, sure.
and certainly,
That's interesting. Yep.
it's interesting when I think physical theater, I always think about that study. I think about,
Mhm.
of course, the content of the words matter, and the story that you're trying to convey. And there's just so many other tools at our disposal in terms of tone and rhythm of speech, as well as
Mhm.
the physicality and the gestural.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in the intercultural field, I do some work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Body language is actually one of the things that you need to look at, and of course, cross-cultural body language, this leads me to the next area that I want to go. Part of this, I have to admit, and I hope I don't embarrass you, this is, I think, my romantic fantasy of, because creativity, just the whole process of creation it's very sensual. It's creative. And so now the two of you are creating things together. You're also living and working together. What is that like? Are there any, like, are you just sort of on all the time, or yeah, do you mind, whatever you're willing
Great
to
question.
tell, because it's
We
a
are
personal
on
question.
all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, just a snapshot of our day to day. I mean, yesterday, we have two beautiful young children. We dropped them off at school. We booked it over to Northwestern University, where we were teaching. We were honored to be teaching and lecturing a little bit about our work with some great young artists there.
Where was this, at the theater school at Northwestern?
Exactly.
Very cool. Very
And,
cool.
and then the rest of our day is working on the festival and various projects. And I think actually when we had children, our oldest is 8 now. So
Okay.
actually the festival was sort of born at the same time as our first child was. And
Sure.
I think that helped me, and I think us, a little bit, start to set some really, really healthy boundaries in terms of, like, mornings and drop offs and pickups and evening time. We do have to put the projects away. We have to put the laptops down, so to speak.
Sure.
And I don't know, personally, that felt like actually one of the many, of course, benefits of being co-parents and business owners.
Yeah, and I always remember we had a teacher on our final day of physical theater school that told us that, maybe not all of us were going to go into theater for the rest of our lives, but that creativity comes in different ways, right? To have children is creative. To cook a meal is creative, right? So you can find or do things with creativity in so many areas of your life. And sometimes I'm like, no, I just want to cook something very boring for today. But her voice comes to mind, like, of this. But yeah, I think people can be creative in the many areas of their lives, and it's helpful.
Sure. Well, and so let's talk a little bit more about the festival, because you talked about, I read this somewhere, that in the pandemic, so I know at one point, I think the two of you were traveling around performing elsewhere, but that somehow during the pandemic, which many would think, I mean, theaters were shuttered half the time. I think, Mark, you had said that the pandemic helped you connect with people around the globe. That feels counterintuitive. So what was that about?
Yeah. That so with my theater company that Alice is also a big part of, we had been touring to 5 to 10 cities around the country per year, performing for hundreds and thousands of young students and families, and in addition to the festival, and of course all of that touring and everything came to a halt, as did the festival itself. But the opportunity suddenly became very apparent that it didn't just stop us, it stopped everybody. And so big institutions who maybe in quote unquote normal times would be very difficult to communicate with, or just far away,
people were more willing to have conversations. You're right about that. Yeah.
And I don't know if you found this, Deanna, but in Brazil, Instagram lives became a huge thing. And everyone, I feel that, like, everyone was in a moment of trying to understand what this was and what it meant to their lives, and how they could continue doing what they could in their lives. And suddenly, because I'm half Brazilian, I started seeing a lot of these conversations on Instagram. So I think before we decided what we would do with the festival in 2020, our first desire was to connect with theater makers from around the world.
And just to see what other people were doing and share ideas.
And, so
absolutely.
we did 10 conversations with theater makers from around the world that we knew, or that had come to our festival, or that were friends of ours, from India to Hong Kong to, just to place ourselves. And suddenly to go back to your question, that became possible because you would talk on Zoom or through a computer with your neighbor or with someone in India, right? Like, because nobody
Right.
was leaving their houses.
Mhm.
So that was very, it was, of course, you had to match the time zones, right? But
Sure.
people were more available.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I don't think that's
Mhm.
true anymore.
Although
Or,
a lot of people started, like we even started, we never had a group text with my family, my own sisters and nieces and nephews, because we're in, 4 or 5 different cities. We started a group
yeah.
text. So it was
Yeah.
even connecting
Yeah.
with people we already knew.
But
It's
also
funny. See,
Zoom
oh,
parties,
sorry.
all
Huh?
those Zoom parties with your, I have my family abroad, and
Yes.
we were all on Zooms together, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had never
Mhm.
thought about that
Mhm.
before, right?
Actually, with time zones, just a little complete sidebar. I actually am always confused because since Brazil is south of the equator, it's like it's like 4 hours or 2 hours because we
Yeah.
change times different ways. I just want you to
Mm.
know, I actually still, after 35 years, I'm never quite sure what time it is in Brazil because of that thing. So I was going to let you get away with your answers about personal and
Mm.
business. But Brianna, actually, and I hope it's okay, I'm sharing on quote
Yeah.
national television. Brianna actually is going to be a mom in about a month. So how are you able? So,
Wow.
so there may be a personal interest in knowing this answer. How are
Mm.
you able to separate business and personal? I know, Lisa, you said like sometimes you just have to turn off the computer, but so in my
Yeah.
world where we're in different fields, there's always that moment of you just don't understand. I just have this deadline. How
Mm.
does that work if you both understand the urgency? Who says, all right, it's time for us to stop working, or probably the kids? But how do you guys do that?
I
Yeah.
think even before we had kids, it came to
Mhm,
a point that we were working nonstop,
mhm.
and we made
Yes,
the
because
decision.
it's creative. It's so exciting. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
work, is
Yeah.
my
yeah,
guess. It's
yeah.
just so exciting.
And
Yes.
it's never ending because it's your
Yep.
own business. I think anyone with their own business, it
Yep.
doesn't need to be
Yes.
theater, right? Like
Mhm.
understands this, right?
Mhm.
And I think it came to a point that we were like, okay, by what was it, 9 p.m., 8
Yeah.
p.m.?
We picked
It
we
was
picked
Oh,
so
up
you
the
set up
time.
like
Yeah.
time limits.
it's like
Okay.
put the time, and like by then we have to not talk about this and have
Okay.
normal life. So this was pre-kids.
Yeah.
With kids, it's a
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
right, you're
Juggle.
always
Yeah.
juggling because you're yeah, we try to stop when the kids get home, right?
Mhm.
That's natural, but I'm not gonna promise that every night after they're in bed I don't pick up my computer and work, you
Oh,
know
Yeah.
for sure.
things
Yeah.
that I need until late at night. I think that's part of the reality.
And
Mhm.
I also think, I mean, we're, it is, there are moments where it gets messier. I think we've come up with some good practices
Mhm.
to try to create these kind of, time cutoffs for
Mhm.
work or, boundaries. But let's be honest, right? Particularly now as we ramp up to the festival in
Yep.
July, I mean,
Ta-da.
yeah. Well done.
On cue.
I mean, there is like any industry. There's a crunch time to
Mhm,
there's times of the year where it's crunch
mhm,
time, and I think that it is tricky when it's
mhm.
like if you were married to an accountant or cohabitating with them.
Oh my god, April, forget it,
Right,
right?
yeah. There's like a
It's gonna
time
be
where
bad. Yep.
you're probably not relying on them to make dinner
Mhm.
every night for the
Yep.
kids or something. So
And of course, to make things easier,
Mhm.
I'm joking when I say easier, we made the festival during the kids holidays,
yeah.
right? Like
So
during
you
the
didn't have to
summer
worry
holidays.
again, just cool things like
So
that. Although I saw on your Facebook page, and I'm sharing this, not to make you freak out more, this would make my stomach go, but also to help. I just saw a post on Facebook from like today that you need a managing producer.
yeah.
That feels like a big deal for a festival that's like 2 months away.
Yeah, well,
So
that's yeah, it's go time, and this is where we hire up a lot of those seasonal positions that are
okay,
are less clerical, but more like people we need
okay.
on the ground.
And I'm assuming you have those positions listed at physicalfestival.com if
Yeah.
people want to
Yes.
apply to
Yeah.
work with
Yeah.
this amazing
Yeah.
couple on the festival.
Yes.
Okay.
It's on
Please,
our
Sidebar.
Get
please apply.
Involved page, or you
Okay.
can email us at info@physicalfestival.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's big. So let's actually, this is a good transition to, and I told you this when we did it. I'm always interested not only in the creativity of what people are bringing to the world, but also it's a business model. Like you
Mhm.
said, you got 2 kids, you got where you're living, you've got things to support. And I know I used to be for a while I was with the head of the League of Chicago Theaters, and it was all
Mm.
about BIS, butts in seats. So that really was like the measurement. What is your business model, and how do you measure, what you're doing with the creative theater work?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like with any creative, where we juggle a lot of things. We both are adjunct professors at universities around
Okay.
town, and I mentioned earlier the theater company that tours in normal times.
I'm
And
also a translator.
Alice does a lot of
Oh, fantastic.
translating
Yeah.
as well. So, yeah, you have to have a lot of things going.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I think what's also been helpful, particularly the last couple of years, is to slow down a little bit and think about being as intentional in terms of a business model as possible. So
Mhm.
I'm very proud that, you know, and we were just lucky too that the timing of the pandemic was that we had built a sustainable model that also, wasn't quite at the place where we had a mortgage on a venue, on a building or
Mhm.
something. We
Sure.
didn't have a year-round staff that suddenly need, like
Mhm.
a lot of big time theaters had to really, figure that
Sure.
out. So
Yeah.
so I felt very fortunate that we built a sustainable model, and that when this, hopefully once in a century event
Mhm.
happens, that
And
we were able
also
to survive. Yeah.
and also it was lucky, yeah, the seasonal aspect of the festival, right?
Mhm.
We're the two employers that work
Employees. Yeah.
employees
Mhm.
that work year round. And
Mhm.
also
Sure.
grants were amazing, were the people that give us grants, the institutions that
Mm.
give us grants, they continued giving us those grants.
Yeah.
And that
In
was
some cases, they were even trying, I think, even more.
yes,
One
yes.
thing you both point out
We
that I do
survived
wanna
because of that also.
say that again?
We survived because
That
of
helped.
them.
That
Because of
helped a
that.
huge. Yeah, that
Sure.
was a huge. Yeah.
One thing you say, and I do think it's important to call it out, because in today's world, and it is not, what is it, Eleanor Roosevelt? Other people's opinion is none of your business. But this idea, so many people go, so what do you do? And they want the one thing. They want to know, well, I'm a theater owner, or I'm a this.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say, which I love, is you're weaving together several things. Like it sounds like between the two of you, it sounds like there's almost like even 6 or 7 things that make up the whole.
Oh
So,
yeah,
Yes.
mhm,
absolutely. And I don't. There's many paths, right? Many different ways to do it. I think that, a festival in particular, because it's seasonal, right?
mhm,
It's very for us, it's just been necessary to have other things, and also of our own creativity, that we want to do other things as
Yeah.
well. So, but I do
mhm,
think that, we have also given an opportunity to take a reflection moment during the pandemic, think through what we do and think through how we do it. And we are finally now, really ramping up to become a more, we're trying to, we had been working with a fiscal agent for
mhm.
the
I
festival.
think you said Fractured Atlas. I
Fractured Balance.
heard of them because 'cause they're great. Because as a
Great.
not-for-profit, if you don't have your own board, you need I
Yeah,
think people, just for viewers, if they don't know this, if you're a not-for-profit and you don't have your own 501(c)(3), you've gotta have a way of accepting grants and accepting money. So Fractured
exactly.
Atlas is very good, for
Very
that.
Which
good.
helped us
Yeah,
sustain at a level where we didn't
sure.
need to have, a bigger infrastructure to keep the festival
Oh,
going. But
okay.
now I think because we, through the pandemic, have realized that this is something we really do want to invest more in, and we would
And
like to
also,
have more, opportunities for people to interact with it throughout the year, not just
yeah.
in the
Mhm.
summer. We are now, a 501(c)(3).
And
So
also
Oh,
because the
fantastic.
festival
yeah.
and our ambitions for the festival have grown very
Mhm.
sustainably, right?
Mhm.
But have grown, and now we want to bring companies that have bigger budgets, and we need that money, that
Oh,
big
interesting.
budget
Okay.
to
Well, I'm
move
gonna
the festival to where it's naturally heading to.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love that idea too because of the festival. It gives you the ability just to reach out to people that maybe are even like stretch people, but you've got this structure and this infrastructure. So it's like,
Yes.
why not invite someone huge and say, do it? I want to show some pictures of the festival because if we're talking about physical theater, you have to we got to show you what it looks like. But I do want to just share as I'm pulling up those photos, Brianna's question, are you able to be more present as a performer with physical theater than with traditional theater? We have to remember lines.
Mhm.
how does that feel in terms of how you connect with what you're presenting? That's an interesting question.
I think I do both types of acting, right?
Mhm.
And I
Okay.
think the goal, even when you're remembering lines, is to get them so deep in you that you are
Mhm.
present while
Mm.
saying them, right? Like I think,
Oh, sure. That
but
makes
I
sense.
do
Yeah.
feel that most physical theater processes are also have the devising components, right? That you're creating the show by moving on
Mhm.
space, by trying out things. And I think that organically makes the show be in
Mhm.
your body, right? Also, like the lengths of time that you use in a process to create a physical theater show
Mhm.
tend to be bigger than the rehearsal
Mm.
process. So I think all those components help. And
Wait,
yes,
say that last sentence again. The time you spend, what did you say, like physically staging it is more than
creating a
just
physical
rehearsal?
theater, because normally you're creating a show and a story from scratch with the bodies already present
Yeah.
there,
Okay.
right?
Oh, so there's a process of creation in creating the show because you're
Yes,
giving,
Exactly.
I
yes,
guess, sort of power to the actors to also see what that would look. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes,
exactly.
All
big
right.
time. Yeah.
So we are at the part of the show we're doing the flash photo stories. So in this case, I like to add a little bit of theater, flash photo stories. This is the part where you've sent me a couple photos ahead of time. I flash them on the screen. You give me like just a 1 to 2 sentence about each, about what
Mm.
is happening here.
This
Uh,
is a wonderful mask performer called Laura Crote. She's a wonderful actress here in Chicago.
mhm.
And we commissioned and said, Laura, bring whatever you want to the park. And she brought 3 mask pieces, and this is one of them.
Fun. I love it. Bring whatever you want.
This
And what about this one?
this is super fun. This is a company from the south side of Chicago called the Era Footwork Crew,
Mhm.
teaching people and children that were in the audience that day how to footwork, which is as Chicago as a hot dog, as they
Sure.
say. Yeah. So that was
You
super
know what I loved about this is that traditionally at festivals, the performer's up on the stage and the audience is on the grass. I absolutely love that he's on the ground and the kids are up on the stage. I think that's really powerful when you
that's really
get to do
powerful.
that.
Yeah.
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 Okay,
That's
and we have one more.
This is a clown who, but I'm talking.
Giancarlos Claudio, he's a great performer also from Puerto Rico, who's now
Okay.
based in Chicago.
Mhm.
And he's doing a clown piece, which is featuring my son, one of my sons, that wouldn't leave the stage.
Oh,
So
now wait, which are
The
those
one with
both
the
yeah,
blue shorts.
in
the
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 blue
black,
shorts?
the
That's your
black shirt
son?
and the blue shorts.
Oh,
Yes.
little
He caused
pumpkin.
a lot of problem for Jean Carlos the clown that day, and that's why I was laughing as soon as I saw the picture.
That sounds like as a parent, that is so hard where you're I remember one time I was at an art opening for a client and Luca looks up at the client and he goes, "My mom said she'll take me for ice cream if I behave well here." It was like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, so
they,
funny. All
yeah,
right, my friends, now you get to guess. So you remember our
Okay.
exercise from the beginning of the show. You're
mm,
welcome to do it
Yeah.
again. But remember,
yeah.
our exercise was that we did step forward, back, and then we step side and side. So can you guess why I selected that exercise for this show? One, because I knew how good the fact that the two of you look so good and are in such unison doing it together. That was just an added bonus. But why did I pick that exercise for this show?
I, yeah, you want to
No,
guess?
you
Yeah.
can go.
I, I think it's sort of just about how, life and things get sort of, you think you're going forwards and back, and then suddenly you realize, oh, wait a second, now I'm going side to side. And, anyways, it just reminded me of, at the very beginning, we talked about our story. I thought I was going to London to study physical theater. I didn't realize I was actually going there to fall in love, and the rest of my life really has emanated from that that one movement in space. So that's what I think about. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know.
So yeah,
I,
I think
I thought about how you can add dance and fun to some basic things in life, like walking, forward and
Mm,
backwards and side to side that we do every day and how it can become joyous. If
I
you
love
live
it
in it.
so much, just from that idea of anything can happen and we're all over. I love those interpretations, which is why this is so much fun. If I had a literal thing, Brianna actually got it exactly. Brianna, she was no way. You go downstage, upstage, stage right,
Oh my
stage
gosh.
left.
Yes,
I was being
Perfect.
very literal. Your interpretations are so much deeper and so much more wonderful. I was literally doing, upstage, downstage, stage left, and stage
Oh my
right.
gosh.
So
Thank
Brianna
you
wins
so
the
much.
prize
Yes.
of our undying
Whoa,
estimation.
Brianna.
Congratulations. Yay.
Deanna, thank you so much for your questions.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you so much for being here. It is so delightful to meet you and spend time with you. Muito obrigada.
De nada.
O prazer foi todo meu. That's like that
Prazer
classic when you
foi
first go
todo
to
meu.
Brazil. The pleasure was all mine.
Que prazer.
Please, where is the physical festival? So it's July
it's in
16th to 24th. Yep.
two parts of the city. We're going to start on the south side at Nichols Park in the Hyde Park neighborhood.
Okay.
On July 16th for 1 day of free outdoor events, family friendly.
And then we're gonna hike it up to Wicker Park on the near northwest side for another week of indoor shows at the Den Theater.
Okay, at the Den Theater. So Nichols Park in Hyde Park, which you can see my Hyde Park Jazz Festival
I was seeing that,
right
yes,
behind me.
exactly.
So they were actually a client. I was the festival manager one year. It's a great neighborhood.
That's a
So
huge
much stuff.
event.
So yeah, fantastic.
Great.
So Nichols Park on the in Hyde Park on the south side of Chicago, and then Wicker Park at the Den Theater. That is for the Physical Theater Festival in Chicago. Thank you so much, Alicia da Cunha and Marc Frost. So delighted to have both of you here today. Thank you so much for joining us on Intercultural Spark.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
was
you so
great.
much.
This is so
You're
fun.
welcome.
Take
My
care.
pleasure. Bye-bye.